3, 2, 1. Putting your hands together to welcome Sonam Kapoor. Can we hear it for Sonam Kapoor? Come. Anyway you want. Lots of mics there. Pick up one. Okay,
Wow.
You guys didn't do that well in announcing my guest, so you're going to be louder this time. At the count of 3, 2, 1, we're going to show Sonam what a welcome really feels like, right? 3, 2, 1. Thank you, Sonam.
Oh, I'm like so excited to be here. I think this is the second time I've come to this college.
Wow.
I came here, I think almost 10 years ago, a little more than that.
And it's your second time at the festival, so welcome back.
Oh, second time at the festival as well.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
great,
yes.
amazing.
Welcome back.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, Sonam is a woman of many avatars. When I was trying to introduce you, I had so many things to say. You know, you have just been named the global ambassador for Dior. You're an actor, you're a model, you are, you're a producer. I don't know where to, you're a parent. I mean, there are so many dimensions to you. You took a break in the middle because you were a mom. Was it tough to juggle those balls?
You know, honestly, fortunately for me, I've been working since I was 17 years old.
I know.
And so I got pregnant when I was 36.
And that was your first break?
At 17, no, my first break was
at 36.
At 36,
you worked
yeah.
17 through 36. That's
yes,
amazing.
and it was 19 years of like non-stop. And when I got pregnant, because it was a later pregnancy, I had to take a lot of shots and injections, and I had to take care of myself. So I couldn't, and it was also COVID, it was 2021.
Yeah.
And so I just thought I'd be at home. And then when I had my baby, I wanted to take another year off. And then it's been 2 years, and now I'm ready to get back to work, and I'm back to work.
What is your favorite Sonam film? Nirja. Okay, if you are orderly, I'll let one person come up on stage, the girl in the blue t-shirt there. Everyone else remain orderly. I know you're all excited. Okay. Contain your excitement. Contain it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I love Prem Ratan Dhan Payo.
You what?
Prem Ratan Dhan Payo. That's my favorite movie. I've watched it over 50 times. I love it.
Oh my God.
Thank you. And anything else you want to say to her? Why did you like these films?
I loved your work in the film, and the way. I love your acting skills. I don't have words.
That's my husband's favorite film as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
She's very excited to meet
Thank
you.
you.
Okay,
That's so sweet.
we can pick up a conversation. Everybody settle down. Sorry, they get very excited when they get to meet, somebody like you. So I just thought I'd give them that little moment. Sonam, there's a video you posted on your Instagram feed that I found very powerful. And you had this very, you always look gorgeous, and you put a photograph of yourself looking gorgeous, and then you said, people don't wake up looking like this. It takes 90 minutes, usually, typically, for somebody to look like this. And you wanted to say to all the girls out there that don't look at these images and think, oh my God, I don't look like this, so there's something missing in me. We've had stories this morning about people who've been bulimic, people who've been trolled for facial hair, no matter what their other accomplishments are. And I think that video was so important, and I want you to tell us what made you, because very few people in the vanity industry, in the glamour industry, in the world of fashion would actually post a video like that.
So I'll be very honest. I'm always being too honest, but when I was your age, I had something called polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS. At that time, it was known as PCOD.
Yeah.
And I think they've updated that. And because of that, I had multiple hormonal issues. So I put on weight when I turned 16 years old, which is like the time when you're supposed to be at your prettiest, sweet 16, like that's like what the books say, all the books that I was reading at that time. And I had facial hair. And
You had facial hair?
Yeah, I had facial hair.
Can I pause you there?
Yes.
We have a story. Prachi, please stand up. Prachi, can I call you on stage?
Yes.
Prachi is a board topper from Uttar Pradesh. She topped the boards, and because she had facial hair,
Yeah.
she was trolled horribly.
Oh, that's horrible.
And a shaving company took out an advertisement using her without her consent. You said that, I just had to get it up.
Oh, that's.
कुछ
I mean,
बोलना
that's.
चाहेंगी आप सोनम जी को?
हाँ मैम फिर से वही राजकुमार राव सर से मिलके बहुत एक्सपीरियंस बहुत अमेजिंग एक्सपीरियंस था और आपसे भी मिलकर
और आपके फेशियल हेयर पे
हाँ उसके लिए कुछ नहीं
कुछ नहीं. Okay.
I'll tell you something.
Photo.
Yes, of course.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, I didn't mean to break your flow.
Not
but that
at all.
was just what we were talking about.
So I'll tell you, and you know, you break out in like acne and stuff like that. I had people tell me, oh, she's Anil Kapoor's daughter. You know,
Yeah,
like weird
yeah.
trolling things.
Yeah.
And it goes away, guys. It goes away.
Yeah.
It doesn't stay with age. It's just a typical hormonal teenage thing, and it went away. And it wasn't only going away. There are so many things that I had to do, but I was traumatized by it. I remember when I was, and I was in a co-edu.
Because it wasn't, did it impact like your confidence?
You know, at that time I remember Kajol was like, and she
Yeah.
had a unibrow. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember. I had
Yeah,
a
yeah,
unibrow.
yeah.
She had a unibrow. She never did her eyebrows, and she, you know, she had hairline hair over there. And I remember my mom showing me Kajol's picture, and she was like, "Look at her. She is the biggest heroine right now, and look at her." And I remember seeing that, and you know, I felt motivated.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like that anymore. And I realized at that time, because the next year, when I was 17 years old, I was discovered by Sanjay Leela Bhansali.
Yeah.
So at that time, I realized that it's very important to set an example and tell your truth.
Yeah.
You know, because she inspired me, I don't think consciously, but unconsciously, with her choices at that time.
That's amazing because, you know, one of the things we try and do at this festival is generational opening of doors.
Yes.
Like that's exactly what it is. And, you know, I followed, of course, I've known you for years, and I followed many of your interviews. And I saw one that you did with Vogue, where you also spoke about the extreme sexualization of imagery today
Yes.
when it comes to girls, and how we think that, oh, that's emancipated, but it isn't always, because it's so commercialized, it's so massy, it's so much pressure on young girls. Talk a little bit about that.
So, you know, to embrace your femininity
Yeah.
is amazing. I feel like at that, like when you embrace that, it's incredible. But at the same time, when it's taken from a man's lens or a man's eye,
Yeah.
it's that view is very different.
The male gaze.
Male gaze is very different from a woman's gaze and how you look at yourself. So I remember I shot for the cover of GQ,
Yeah.
and the stylist was a woman, Antra
Yeah.
Motiwala,
Yeah.
and the photographer was a woman, Sinye, who shot my wedding.
Yeah.
And the comfort that I felt while I was shooting for a magazine that was meant for men, because I was shot like by a woman and styled
Yeah.
by a woman,
Yeah.
was very different. Because I know that if it was a man shooting me or a man styling me, a straight man
Yeah.
shooting me or styling me, it would
Yeah.
have been a completely different kind of idea, and it wouldn't have looked the kind of same. I was very comfortable, and it was a very sexy shoot. It was me embracing my body. I was in red latex. I'm usually very modestly dressed. I'm more comfortable covering up. So that was different. It was new for me, and it's one of my favorite shoots that I've done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you should embrace it, but embrace it for yourself.
But there's that thin line, right? How do you find that? Because I know that so many young girls today growing up in the age of Instagram, they
Yeah.
only see themselves through that filter.
Honestly, Barkha, I think your the worldview has changed because a lot of them actually do it for other women. Because I have a lot of cousins who are in that generation. I'm
Yeah.
the eldest amongst all of my Kapoor cousins that
Yeah,
are there and
yeah.
that are thriving right now. And I see that they are actually a lot of the Gen Zs that are out there and Generation Alpha that are out there
Yeah.
are they are either extremely conservative or extremely free thinking. I think this is a generation of extremes that
Yeah,
are there. And they're either very free thinking or conservative in the way they portray themselves. And it's the way the generation thinks. It's not something as a millennial that I understand
Yeah.
very much, but they do celebrate themselves, and there is a fine line. And I think in our generation and the generation before that, it was more for the masculine gaze. Over here, I think it's more for the social media and what their friends are saying and how they're liking it. And it's that, like, it's a different vibe than what we had.
No,
when we were
I
growing
was
up.
I was telling this story. I went to receive an award the other day, and I went to this event, and it was almost like everybody had come for their photo on Instagram and not
Yes.
actually for that space.
Yes.
And there was nobody really in the hall,
Yeah.
and I was like,
I think it's because as I know that it's my generation who's created social media.
yeah,
We've
that's
created,
true.
we've created social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat. It's all been created by our generation. The connectivity that there is. But, at the end of the day, it's a tool. And I've said this before, a tool, you can either build something with it, or you can, or a tool can be very destructive as well. So
Yeah.
it's how you utilize it, right? And
Yeah.
right now, I feel there's no, there should be certain restrictions, right? Like in terms of how you use it,
Like some control.
some control over it.
And as a parent, I'm sure, I mean, it's too young for you, but you must be thinking of these things.
I mean, I do. I honestly do. I'm extremely liberal in the way I think, and I
Yeah.
feel like there should be complete, like, you have to have complete autonomy. You should be able to say what you want to say, put out what you want to put out.
Yeah.
But there should be an age bracket, like there is for drinking, and then there is for driving, right? And you utilize it at that point.
Yeah,
You know?
that's something to think about. Now, I want to ask you, as I said, it's Sonam's many avatars.
Okay.
Indra Nooyi, who used to be the chairperson of PepsiCo,
PepsiCo, yeah.
she famously said, women can't have it all. And she told this story about how she got this big promotion and she
Yeah.
came back home and she was, really excited about it. And then her mother said,
Maybe in her generation.
maybe in her generation, her mother said, but you forgot to get the milk. And her mother told her, leave your crown in the garage, right? And she said, that made me feel women can't have it all. Now, I don't know what having it all means, but when I look at you, Sonam,
Huh.
I feel you have it all.
Because I have a partner
Yeah.
who believes in sharing
Yeah.
everything, right? Whether it's the care for my son, the household expenses. I mean, that was a different generation. And I know there are a lot of people in my generation who don't have it all either, but I'm extremely privileged
Yeah.
in the way where my husband doesn't, he's an American school, he's basically like he's brought up in the Western world, right?
Yeah.
And he's brought up in a way where he thinks in a very different way. It's not a patriarchal way of thinking. We're also Sindhis. It's more matriarchal society. His grandmother founded the family business. So
Wow.
it's a very different way of thinking, or the right way of thinking, where it's not only my responsibility to be, take care of the home and take care of my son, and it's not that. He doesn't even think that,
I'm so glad you mentioned that because we were talking earlier in the day about how so many women, whatever they do, they
Yeah.
drop out of the workforce because they can't manage the inequality at home. And our
Yeah.
entire conversation is
where
focused on...
it's expected of us.
Yes.
It's expected.
And so are you saying that you guys are pretty much equal in whatever way at home?
Yes, we are. I mean, the thing is, a child wants his mother,
Yeah.
okay? Or her, she
Yeah.
wants or he wants. I mean, in my case, it's my son. It is a biological thing where the first couple of years you are needed, right? Breastfeeding, you know, he wants you when he's upset, when he's sick, when he's crying. It's just, is biological.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean my husband cannot help me with that and do
Sure.
the same thing, right? Like if I wanted a whole night's sleep, he was there to kind of make sure that there's a bottle there, or there's,
Yeah.
you know, once he, you know, my son had colic when he was younger, so he was waking up in the middle of the night, and
Yeah.
he was with him. So it's not that. It's about taking responsibility and saying that I need to take care of. So he took care of me because I had to take care
Yeah.
of my kid, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's important.
How was it for you growing up? Did you have the same sort of freedom as you would want to give today to today's child?
I don't know, but have you met my dad?
I have met your dad,
my
and he
dad
is the
is,
most. I mean, that 1-2 Kapoor is
he
still
is,
what defines his energy.
Yeah,
He's
but
amazing.
he is. My parents were both at St. Xavier's College here.
Yeah.
They met in college, and they are very liberal in the way they think, and they're very open. And we were brought up as individuals, all of us.
Yeah.
There was no distinction.
Did you ever argue with your parents growing up?
I still argue with them.
And what do you disagree on? Not fundamentals.
Not fundamentals, not our worldview, definitely not politics.
Yeah.
We agree on we agree on the main things, but like silly things like how much money I'm spending, am I saving? You know, the usual things that
Yeah.
parents are worried about.
Yeah.
Am I taking care of myself? Am I working out? Or, you know, or am I going out too much?
And are you
Same
going out?
things.
Like basically what they were asking you when you were 16, they're still asking
Still
you.
asking. I think parents stay parents.
Yes.
Like, are you eating? You're not eating right. You're eating too much junk food. Stop ordering pav bhaji from the,
Yeah.
you know. That's
So
the
I
same
want to
thing.
ask you towards the end, what does fashion mean to you? You know, you have always been such a sort of diva of design. Right, somebody stole the word from me. Diva, absolute diva. You can clap. Isn't she a diva? Yes, absolutely. But, you know, your video on Instagram where you said it takes 90 minutes to do this reminded me of this amazing video. Guys, if you haven't seen it, see Kate Winslet where she's doing this makeup
Removing
video.
it,
She's
yeah.
removing it instead of putting her makeup on. I just found that video so powerful. So I want to ask you, what does fashion mean to you as this global ambassador for Dior, but as someone who has always been immaculately fashionable? What does fashion mean to you?
So I feel fashion, or what is fashionable at the time, defines the time we are in.
Yeah.
So if you look at the 50s or the 60s, the 70s, it was the social, economical, political, whatever was going on was reflected in the clothes that people wore.
Yeah.
And the way they dressed, and the
Yeah.
way they were treated. And, you know, so the 50s were a certain way, the 60s were a certain way. So I feel it's very important because it defines a generation. It defines what's going on in the world right now. It's a great showcase of what is going on in the world. I also wear fashion like an armor. I feel like it kind of tells people who I am
Yeah.
when I walk into a room. you
And
know.
so you just walked in here.
Huh.
Who are you?
I'm someone who appreciates fashion as art.
Yes.
I appreciate artisans. I appreciate artisans, craftsmen, designers, artists. You know, it takes a lot to make a garment,
Yeah.
a shoe, the
Yeah.
design that goes into it, the ideas that go into it, what people are trying to say with it, you know. Whether it was Galliano, whether it was Lee McQueen, whether it's Maria Grazia, who's known as who's a big feminist who champions Indian. She's the first one who basically decided to champion Indian embroiderers over here, the karigars
Yeah.
that we have.
Yeah.
Most of the fashion houses use Indian embroidery in all their brands, the couture brands. But she was the first one to kind of recognize them here. And I think it's important to see the work that, you know.
I was just going to ask you that you have this big global presence, but you carry a bit of India into that
Everywhere.
space. And that's so beautiful to watch. And I want you to talk about that. You know, you're at home in the world, but you carry India with you into fashion and wherever you go.
My love for India is what I learned in school. I was in a very simple school when I was growing up. I was in a school called Aryavidya Mandir in Juhu, AVM. And it was in Juhu, and it started off as an SSC school, and then when I was in 9th standard, it became ICSE. And it was a very simple school. It wasn't fancy. I wasn't in any fancy school.
How come though? As a filmy family?
My mom, my nana, and my mom and my dad came from very modest backgrounds, and they wanted us to kind of understand that. So I knew who my father was, but I wanted to be more like my friends.
Yeah.
And and I think she was very wise, and she understood that satsang, they say the people you grew up with is
Your community.
your community is very important. And my friends came from like families that were all working class, and I appreciated that, and I liked that, and it kind of made me understand who I was as well.
Yeah.
And I don't remember.
We were talking about carrying India into.
So
yeah.
I think the idea.
You said you learned it at school.
I learned it at school. The idea of having this national pride in our artisans, in the secularism of India, in the idea of where everything came from. And that made me really proud, right? Like the fact that we are so, where everything comes from somewhere. We have so many languages, so many
civilizational in a way.
And it was incredible to me to understand that. And my mom was a fashion designer.
Yeah.
And so I understood what Bandhani was, Zari was, Jamewars were, what came from Kashmir, what Kanjivaram came from the south, or Parsis had a different way of embroidering their clothes, and as Sindhis we wore ponchas with a salwar, or a Punjabi wore a certain way. So I just loved that. I loved it so much because I saw that growing up, and I've always felt. And then I went to the school called UWC, which is, my high school and 10th standard, I went to this school called United World College of Southeast Asia. And this was 20 years ago, when IB was not like fancy.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't what is now.
What is now when everyone does it, yeah.
And over there, I learned to kind of celebrate my Indianness.
Yeah.
And not ape Western culture, appreciate all cultures, look at everything, and at the same time celebrate who I am.
And remain rooted.
And remain rooted, because it was based on the principles of the United Nations.
Amazing.
United World College. So it was the idea of celebrating my Indianness, who I was as a person, and my individuality. And education and upbringing is so important in that. So that's why I always take India with me everywhere.
So one last question.
Yes.
What next for Sonam? And I ask this with an added question. There's a sense or an impression that men have decades in the industry of entertainment, art and fashion, and women have lesser time.
Okay.
Do you feel that, or do you think that's finally changing? And what's your next move? I know you've just had a big one. What are you planning next?
So I have 2 projects in the pipeline, Barkha. I unfortunately cannot speak about it. The producers will when they want to.
Okay, sure.
And
But what next? I meant in like, what's your next dream?
My next dream, I'm an actor. I work with my husband. We're partners in everything. And I'm a mom. And
that's a lot already.
That's a lot.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I'll be producing films again with my sister. She did a wonderful job with the crew.
Correct.
I think they shot Thank You for Coming in this college. They shot a bit of it over here.
Yes.
And so they've done that, and I'm ready to kind of take on that idea and role as well. And yeah, and just acting again, working with my husband. We're building brands together.
Fabulous.
And yeah, that's it.
So now you've spoken about the crew, and we want to honor you. And you've spoken about the crew, and wherever we ask, what's that movie that you remember, Sonam, for? There's so many, but everybody mentions Nirja. And so, if we can please bring out the award for Sonam. And as we're doing that, I would like to, if I may, ask 2 captains who fly planes, Captain Preeti Gohal and Captain Ishita Bhatia. I thought this would be nice if you could receive your honor from us, from me and them. Could we have the captains back on stage, please?
Thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, of course.
You should be giving this to the ladies.
Oh my God, thank you so much.
Come on, give it to them.
Thank you, thank you. Oh, it's fine. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I just want to ask all three of you quickly. Anything you want to say to Sonam?
Enjoy motherhood and you can do it all.
I agree.
Ditto, actually.
Yeah?
Ditto.
Because you're both parents?
Yes.
And flying planes. Sonam, what would you tell your 16-year-old self today? And to all these young women here?
What would I tell my 16-year-old self? Your teenage years are difficult, very difficult. Your 20s are a little easier. Your 30s are amazing, and I know it just gets better with age.
Thank you for saying that. It really does. doesn't
It really does. I mean, I love aging. I think it makes me, I just love it.
Thank you, Sonam.
you
Can
so
we
much.
have a huge round of applause for Sonam Kapoor and our captains here? And can I give you a hug and say thank you? And we have to catch up. Yeah?
100%,
Thank you.
100%, thank you.
Just through the
From
woods.
here? Okay.
Girls, yes,
I'm
please. Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye.